coverage, and I focus on cloud management. Cloud management technologies, basically our overall cloud software portfolio. One of those is basically our activities and products and solutions and partnerships in the VIO space. And I'm today with my colleague Julian.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm Julian Fab. I'm working in the technology solution architect. So I'm working more in the PSO space, how we work and how we can help to customer, the Vistra customer, to go through the OpenStack market and how to use it.
All right, so we're going to guide you through a 30 minutes presentation. This will be a fairly technical solution to the extent we can be technical in 30 minutes. So I'm quite sure it will, I hope it will spark and trigger a lot of your interest and have further questions. So, we're around, we're present at the booth and everything. But yeah, it'll be a fairly technical solution. But just to start with, and just to really sort of set the stage and set the scene for people sort of inquiring or wondering or not necessarily familiar with what we do with in that space, in the OpenStack space, in our value proposition. The tagline really, and the reason we're working and we're innovating and we're active in that space is to bring to our customers the API they want on the infrastructure they know, right? That's really the tagline. And we believe, and that's what the work with some of our high-end customer names, and one of those we're presenting at the session right before, is how can we help land the OpenStack APIs on the most stable and proven infrastructure, right? This is really what we do, and this is the quick value proposition. Just wanted to get through this to sort of clean up the air and then dive gradually into more of a technical understanding and overview of what are our products in that space and how do they operate and how do they architect, okay? So a lot of the focus of what we're doing in that space, and I'll talk about the contributions and how we're contributing, is really to focus on easing operations, right? That's what we heard from our customers. And operations in terms of deployment of the overall platform and the OpenStack services, but also the day two activities, obviously. And people that attended, and the overall theme of this Benelux OpenStack gathering today is all around operations. So a little bit of back tracing as well for the people who are not necessarily familiar, or for the people just demystifying a little bit, people that thought like VMware's involvement in this community is 6 months old or a year old. It's actually much older than that. For people not necessarily familiar, we've acquired a company that set the stage for the SDN market, and the founder of that company was the guy who basically invented OpenFlow and Open vSwitch, Martin Casado. And we bought this company 3.5 years ago, Nicira. We could have decided back then to just keep the technology and get rid of all of the rest, the partnerships and the community contribution. And we haven't done that. VMware haven't decided to just acquire the company and productize product only out of it. So we productize a product, and I'll talk about that, VMware's NSX solution for SDN. But we've contributed the contribution, and it varies. But if you go on Stack Analytics, we rank anywhere between number 12 or 13 up to number 4 or 5, depending on what module is being worked out in terms of the highest number of commits, contributions, code reviews, and so on and so forth. Okay. So that's really sort of to position us in that space, and what do we do? So I mentioned we contribute. What do we contribute to? We obviously contribute to making our virtualized infrastructure components compatible with the standard API of OpenStack and with the main services, right? So that's really what we want to do. And that means that we focus on the core projects, as you see here. So the usual suspects, Nova, Neutron, Cinder, Glance, and so on and so forth. And we contribute code, either drivers or plugins. We could go into the nuances and so on and so forth to make sure that all of those services, the OpenStack services, are compatible and can work in a standard-based manner with our virtualized infrastructure components. So I guess everybody's familiar with what was our niche, our DNA initially, compute virtualization. So basically server virtualization with our product vSphere, and we've contributed and wrote three different types of plugins slash drivers in that space to be able to talk to vSphere to create VMs, to be able to talk to vSphere to create disks for those VMs or disks for the Glance images. And we also contribute a plugin to talk to our SDN controller, if you will, or our SDN product that is called NSX, and make it compatible with Neutron. So all this code is upstreamed. All this code is made available in the community releases as part of the project. And our partners are free to go and take those and productize them and make them available as options in their OpenStack distros, right? And this is a very key message I want to stress. Having a VMware based infrastructure made compatible with OpenStack, there are different go-to-markets and different strategies if you want to make that happen, right? We, in addition to those drivers, came up with our own OpenStack distro called VIO, VMware Integrated OpenStack, and this will be the focus of the rest of this conversation. We'll have demos and offline demos and examples for you. But equally, and later on, our partner Susie, for example, will be talking about that. These contributions have also been endorsed and integrated by other distros on the market. And when you talk to an HP, for example, with their own distro, Helion, if you talk to Susie, if you talk to Red Hat and Mirantis, you can very much, like you, a customer, can very much ask, we want your distro, but we want your distro to work with vSphere, and or NSX, and or vSAN, and so on and so forth. Yeah? So a customer that is convinced by the value of running the OpenStack API on a robust VMware infrastructure has different options of going and sourcing that from the market. Okay? Some of the architectural decisions made here to integrate with specific components have really had a lot of thought given into them. So when we talk about Nova and the way Nova provisions VMs and instances, in our case, the VMware integration goes through our centralized management element, which is called vCenter. And that provides lots of additional benefits. It's the brain that controls all of our ESXi hosts and virtualization clusters. So all of the added value services, such as protection mechanisms, high availability, vMotioning services, and so on and so forth, they're all preserved as part of this integration with OpenStack, right? It's complementary in some cases to the inherent services in OpenStack, depending on the application architecture. In other cases, it is really an additional and very, very thick value add to cope with some of the shortcomings of the modules in the platform. Okay. And any questions so far on these things, technology integration whatsoever? Yes, please.
So, what are the shortcomings within the standard OpenStack components that you fix or that you do have in vCenter?
Oh, so that's a good question. So not all of the applications that are meant to be deployed and rely on an OpenStack layer came and cater for them their own HA services, for example, right? Some applications come and say, I still want my instances when they are deployed to be able to leverage specified services such as fault tolerance or high availability or multi-region or cross-region vMotion and so on and so forth, right? Some applications are very smart. They will come and they will cater for themselves in terms of HA. They will be able, if a node dies, to spin up a new node regardless of the location or the cluster or whatsoever. Some other applications still need those services that they've been relying on a traditional infrastructure, a virtualized infrastructure, right? So it's kind of a best of both worlds. That's what we do. The traditional services, everything you know, right? Capacity to do affinity, anti-affinity, capacity to pin a given application to the hardware resources because you want to dedicate, I don't know, a CPU whatsoever, capacity to bypass para-virtualization in some cases, right? So all of these things are preserved. And the smarter, newer applications that can get rid of those and cater for these things by themselves, it will still run and go for it, right? One traditional, one very, very frequent topic that we really develop and customers come to us, and very often is the first challenge. I don't know if this audience here agrees, but the first challenge they come up with to us is, hey, I would like to productize OpenStack. I'm really facing issues from a networking perspective. Linux bridges are not enough, or other available solutions, can't guarantee me to scale as I want to scale and give me the flexibility. So one thing we wanted to highlight before we get into the overview of the platform itself, how does it look like, and some of the differentiators is we provide, when you couple the OpenStack distro, again, be it from us, VIO, or from our partners, when we couple this with our SDN engine, VMware NSX, it provides a fantastic flexibility in terms of the supported networking topologies. We can run with underlays if there's no NSX, but we can also run with overlays. We can use VLAN-based or VLAN-backed networks. We can use NSX-backed networks. Those can be layer 2, layer 3. They can come with sophisticated security or not. So this is really a very, very big differentiator. And actually, instead of us talking about it for hours, and let me have a look at my watch here, I'm doing good. We have a blog post that's been authored and written by one of our lead architect customers at Wells Fargo. You can go and have a look. They are industrializing and deploying OpenStack with VMware, VIO, and they made a talk out of this about provider networks and tenant networks and everything at the Austin Summit, right? So these slides, I think, will be distributed. And again, best than anything, go and have a look at how our customers talk about the flexibility, obviously, instead of us, all right? Just wanted to highlight the networking aspect as part of what we provide. So where we are, from now on, we will really focus the conversation on our own distro, just to evangelize and highlight a little bit of what we do in that space in our product. Our distro is called VMware Integrated OpenStack. It's been around for 2 years now. We are at the 3.0 release that just got released 2 or 3 days ago. It's Mitaka based. It brings some very, very interesting innovations, and again, a lot of focus on simplification, ease of consumption, ease of operations, okay? The control plane can be as compact as 2 VMs. Obviously, for POC or dev test or high SLA environments. But I know there are some initiatives to changing the packaging of the control plane and the OpenStack elements and going into containerization and everything. But in terms of VMs today, if you take a look at the different distros, I don't believe any of those can go as small and i.e. be provisioned as quickly as 2 VMs, right? We have some examples, and you'll see actually on that very talk, Julien will show an offline video of how that gets deployed. It's literally a 6 to 7 minutes process, okay? In terms of operations and ease and consumption, we will also enable our customers to automatically inherit or use the existing vSphere templates, if you will, which have a lot of engineering in terms of OS masters and templates and everything. You can easily consume those and transform them as OpenStack images to get started and get up and running. If you have an existing environment, you can also reuse your the existing VMs and import them under an OpenStack umbrella for OpenStack management and governance and lifecycle, right? So a lot of focus is being put. So what does it look like? We can obviously ensure and support HA deployments. So you'll have all of the different components. Again, very compact compared to other distros. And actually, at smallest, with full HA, 8 VMs can get you up and running and provide all of the different services that you need. Obviously, core components, right? So again, Glance, Cinder, Neutron, Nova, and so on and so forth. We've increased also the scalability. We can support in this compact deployment 6,000 VMs, 200 hypervisors. Again, all full HA, all deeply integrated into your existing VMware infrastructure. This is a high-level overview of how it looks like. The installer is as small as 2 VMs, okay? 2 packed virtual appliances. We use a template, and we use a management server that will be the brain, and he will be basically the element that will deploy all of the different, so the database, the controller, the load balancer nodes out of this template. Again, very easy, naturally and natively integrated into the traditional UI that our customers use, i.e. vCenter, right, as an option. And this is an overview of the compact mode where, again, little SLA, POC, dev test environment can be as small as really literally 2 VMs running, and it'll get you going. So I think
Yeah, this is a compact mode, and
Sorry,
earlier
yeah.
it was a full HA mode. So because we have 2 types of modes, it's full HA means everything is clustering. Your service is clustering. You have double nodes. If one is down, another one can be taken over, can be fed over. So we integrated with DRS. So we have affinity rules, anti-affinity rules. This is what he meant on this one. So here we have only 8 VMs, where before we have 15 initially in our first release. So everything we have done so far since our first experience with VIO is to make you easier to deploy, easier to operate, and easier for you to consume OpenStack for your end user. So what we're trying to achieve here, right, is to use your existing workloads and just to make your experience just simpler and have a better experience on that. So here is the compact mode. is production ready. Even if we mentioned we can use for POC, proof of concept, or whatsoever. Now it's the first release where every service is in one VMs and it's production ready. So you have one VMs dedicated for compute, which is basically to allocate where your VMs will be based on, but everything, all the service is production ready on this release. This is a demo about a small deployment of VIO. Oh, sorry. So as you can see, it's the usual vSphere. As you can see, it's the usual vSphere web clients. We haven't changed anything. So as a vSphere admin, we don't know about OpenStack. We're quite new about the OpenStack. I myself, I started only 2 years ago. So I was like, oh, wow, what is OpenStack? How do I deploy it? How do I usually do that for my end users? So it's simpler. From vSphere infrastructure, still the same feeling, same management plane. What we need to do is just to deploy VMs, we call OMS, the management servers. And after that, these VMs basically will be the interaction between your OpenStack service plane and also the vSphere admin. So from there, you can operate, you can add nodes, you can add logging, you can add integration with LDAP, and so on. So it's a lot of work to be done that we have done more for user experience. So from here, from this interface, we deploy basically like a wizard, and we have two modes here. We have HA and compact modes. And what we have done is through this wizard, we have a lot of settings that need to be required. For example, your API, the external API, how your user can basically call the neutral services, the Keystone, the Cleanse API from an external API without impacting the management or anything like that. So we need to understand how the configuration will be set up, and after go through without every steps. But what we have done is you can export those configuration, and if something happens, you can import it again. So we have made sure that all your experience from beginning to the end, we have something that you can always come back if you have an issue or if something is wrong. So from here, I have imported here a JSON file where I put, for example, my VC FQDN, my user logins, and what type of networking I want. So here you can see you have two modes. The compact, which is one VM for the control plane and one for the compute. And you have the HA, which is the 8 VMs, the full clustering and the full service clustering. And as you can see, it's already, the fields are already pre-populated, and it's going through, like Hassan stated earlier, it's when we have one VIO instance deployed, it's by VC. So we are linked by virtual center, because at the end, on vSphere, VC is the brain. So VIO management is basically working to connect to the vCenter.
We have 10 minutes left, Julian. What
10 minutes left?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going very fast. So from here, it's populate basically all the network, all the settings here. I can go through. So it validates the IP, it validates also the DNS. So we do a lot of checklists also.
You can let it run, and maybe we can comment. It's just 2 minutes.
And after basically, what we have is we separate the management plane on ESX, so we don't isolate it. If we have issues, it goes through in this ESX cluster, and we can intervene, and we can do an upgrade. We can call GSS to support to fix it. And after we have all the management, all your workload, basically all your production DevOps will be using will be on separate plane. So we'll just make sure that everything is very isolated and secure in case of something happening.
Just one additional comment. Obviously, this is not a science project. Obviously, it all comes with prescriptive architectures that we've built based on experience, right? So there are detailed design guides and user guides and configuration guides and administration guides and lots of talks and documentation about how do we build this and how do you build it, how do you operate, what are your architectural options and choices, etc., etc.
Yeah, like he said, what we're trying to do is for you to have something working. After, if you want to customize, if you want to have an external extent or so whatsoever, we can have a certain extent we can customize. But you have to make sure that everything that we do, we know what's happening because we need to support for any upgrade in the future. Because from one upgrade to another upgrade, we want to make sure that everything is supported and tested. So if you do any extensibility, any different integration that we haven't go through that, well, things can happen, right? So we can't really, have confidence if we don't have something that we have done and we're going through that. So this is a compact node. This is completely new. It was released yesterday. It's something that you can download straight away if you have VSphere Enterprise. You can go there, download, play with it, and see how it goes. We don't have a lot of, we just need a DB switch setup because we need a networking interaction with vCenter between all the hosts. But you can already play there, and as you can see, it's very easy to deploy. We don't have a lot of requirements for the compact node. So HA, we have maybe more space, but that's another story. So that's the imports. Like Hassan said, we're going through multi-clouds. So what we're trying to do is, if you don't have a greenfield, you can always import the existing workload or the existing templates. We want just to make sure that everything is simpler to go from the usual vSphere administrator and user base, and you want to go to the cloud with OpenStack, API-based, transformation more from AWS. You can do that by importing your existing workloads, and you can even specify which tenant you want, which project you want. So everything is so as you can see here, it's your vSphere. We have a VMs, MariaDB. It's not managed by any other extension, so it's not managed by VRLIze or anything like that. We have there, what we need is to go through the management server, and we have through all command lines, we can connect to the local host, to the server host. So you have a new command called dcli, and from there you can list all your VMs in your infrastructure on vCenter. So from there, we know that those VMs are not managed, are not used by anyone except vSphere. So from there, you can import, even import all. You can even import in bulk. It's not necessary in one VM. You can import in bulk and put in different tenants. So it's just something that is quite new, but it's very easy after that for adoption. If you want to have an existing infrastructure on vSphere and you want some different SLAs and you still want to go through API, standard API, you can do it on your existing infrastructure. And as you can see here on the Horizon portal, your VMs here, it's imported on your Horizon portal.
So the logic with this feature, but also the logic with importing templates is, again, the idea of piling different layers that leverage the value of whatever there is underneath, right? So if you think about the images, yes, sure, depending on the distro, there's one or two default images that you can use directly to clone and build instances out of, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, sure, you can go ahead and import media and start building a new image, and probably do that as part of your OpenStack deployments and architectures and templates. But very often, because there's a virtualization layer, some preliminary engineering and a lot of thinking has already gone by the virtualization team in building those templates. Masters, they compute, they factor in all of the different tools and agents and modules they need, and want to make sure I have cloud in it and my Linux image and so on and so forth, right? Since this exists and it's there, and in the case of a VMware infrastructure, it exists in vSphere. Wouldn't it be very easy, very nice to basically immediately import that, and make an image out of it, and be able to immediately build instances out of it? Yes, of course. You don't want to re-engineer something where many hours went into building something by a different team, right? That's just the logic of, again, piling layers on top of others, but also equally leveraging the value of anything that's been pre-engineered, pre-factored before, right? So that's, again, the theme is operations, ease of consumption, to get going and hit the ground running, as the Americans say. So
just to comment on Hassan is
5 minutes.
Okay, let's comment. What it's trying to do is, in the OpenStack community, what we feel, and from talking to customers, is not everyone have a DevOps team every application is very fault tolerant, right? Fault tolerant on such sort of it. So we saw that we have a mix between pets and cattle, and VMware is good on pets VMs, on legacy VMs, on database, and so on. So what we're trying to achieve here is a hybrid world, where you can have, using OpenStack, you can deploy your feature apps with database, with so on, and we'll make sure still that you have a resiliency and fault tolerance and issues. So just a few slides after we're going through. So this is still completely, on the operation team, right? It's just that now we're trying to scale out. Great, you can scale out, but if something happens, how do you troubleshoot it? How do you make sure you have performance going on from these VMs? How it will interact with your physical network if you have an issue on your network? So it's just a complementary with what we have in the portfolio that now you can use also more visibility about your infrastructure and how you feel about controlling what's going on and more visibility on your environment. Okay, now question.
Yeah, just a comment, sorry, before questions, just a comment. So in terms of access to this technology, it's very easy. In short, any existing customer that has vSphere, our virtualization product, is entitled to our OpenStack distribution.
vSphere Enterprise Plus or?
A vSphere Enterprise Plus, but let me hold that back because I wonder, so for sure, if you have Enterprise Plus, for sure you're entitled to VIO, but I think we're even introducing a bit more looseness in this space, and I wonder if vSphere by itself already doesn't entitle you. I know your comment about DVS.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, so if you have vSphere, but also NSX, for example, that vSphere doesn't need to be Enterprise Plus. But just in short, all right, if you have vSphere at a certain level of edition, right, that entitles you to VIO. So you can go there on VMware.com, you download VIO 3.0, 2 VMs. It's even easier than VMs. It's virtual appliances for the people familiar with that concept, i.e., I don't need to create a VM and put any application component on top of it. The OpenStack management server is already baked in. So it's literally, if you have a good bandwidth connection at home, a 15 minutes download, and then another 15 minutes to deploy the OVA, and another 6 minutes to deploy VIO, or 10 minutes to deploy VIO, should you decide to deploy it in compact mode. So did you do the calculate? 10 plus 10 plus 6. Let's say 30 minutes, and you already have the Horizon Portal and the Nova and those things, and you can start off trying, right? So it's really very, very easy to consume. Go ahead, test, play with it. Or obviously, if you have another distro of choice, OpenStack, you're working again with SUSE, Mirantis, whatever, ask them and they will make their software. It is actually already compatible with our infrastructure components. I just wanted to highlight that. Before we open up for questions, we have 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, I had a question to VIO. If you're using it, is it mandatory to have NSX, Minit, and vSAN, or?
Sure, very good question. So let me reformulate that. So if you want to use VIO, is it mandatory to use your SDN, the VMware SDN solution, NSX, or the VMware SDS solution, vSAN? Answer is no. No. The mandatory element is vSphere. Now, if you ask me a bit further as to do we recommend, obviously we recommend, and I'll keep that short, we recommend first really go with NSX. There was a fantastic session from Join a bit earlier, and they could have not, our customer, and they could have not said it better for virtualizing their NFV functions. They made a choice to go for overlays. They decided we need to complement Neutron with an SDN solution. And thankfully for us, they went for VMware NSX. But you will see, depending on obviously your project, your workload and everything, you might very quickly see that you really need overlays to decouple yourself from the hassle of VLANs and everything.
Yeah, and everything is about API, right? So with the usual DB switch, you have to basically provide the VLAN to OpenStack. You cannot create firewalls, distribution by microsegmentation, security groups. Is everything through NSX, of course, through a Neutron API. So of course, you have some limitation with what you have at the moment. But if you're good with VLANs, if you're good with flat network, you can already go for it. After, if you want extend advanced network and so on, the infrastructure, of course, the existing doesn't give you these capabilities.
Technically speaking, to be super specific, if you don't couple VIO with NSX, you would couple it with VDS, VMware Distributed Virtual Switch. that will make your day. Obviously, with the big feature gap between BDS and NSX, right? For storage, any storage that is vSphere compatible, so that's like pretty much any storage today, all of you know, any storage that reflects in vSphere as a data store is compatible with VIO. Okay?
Maybe one specific, do you integrate also with Vivos?
Yes, Vivo will surface up in vSphere with additional capacity in terms of exposing services. So yes, yeah, I have
like
never.
Hassan said, everything supported on vSphere is supported with VIO.
Okay, thank you.
Any other burning questions somewhere? Ask the tough ones. There's no problem at all.
Yeah.
Another one,
Let's keep on. Yeah.
As a VMware partner, do you need special certification competences before you can have access to the maybe insights of VMware OpenStack? So documentation.
Understood. So the question is, if you're a VMware partner, is there any specific programmatic like program or enablement or status to be able to access the VIO technology and sell it as a partner? You know what? I'm never 100% specific about the questions.
This question I can go for.
Yeah,
because I'm working, like you said, professional service. You have a set where you can download for partners. I know it depending on the maturity of the model, we publish it, but I can ask around.
I thought it was on partner central that additional documentation is available. But the documentation is also available on Plus.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've never heard about any. We're not too strict about it, but again, as we're not partner managers, whatever, you can really check it legally and come back to you. We're good. All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your interest.